You're live.
All right, thank you. Welcome everyone to the May 4th NSA Ad Hoc meeting. Um, and Director Lawson is unable to join us tonight, but he did send me his input, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen. Oops. Okay. Everybody can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, let me go to the agenda page first. This is what we're going to discuss tonight. We're going to briefly go over the timeline. Thank you, Micah, for sending those calendar invites as well. The reminders about when to get the information to you so you can get on the agenda in a timely manner. And the OPD template and the OPOA MOU proposal letter, I think we'll discuss that at the end. I think that we should just dedicate time to the draft CMC statement. And let's just do it like that. So I'm going to reverse the order and just start with the CMC statement draft. And we'll go over this outline that I've been working on. And I had hoped to have something more before or by tonight. So I apologize for not having something more tonight. Good evening, Connor. Thank you for joining us. But I do have something that we can start with tonight, and we can take it from there. And the goal is to have a draft CMC statement to vote on by next Thursday. And it doesn't have to be finalized. We can always vote to, do it with such and such amendments from commissioners or additional work that we feel needs to be put into it. But we need to have something to work with for our next meeting. So that's what we're doing with that. Any questions, IG, about the timeline?
I don't have any questions. It looks good so far.
Okay. And Connor, you didn't really miss anything. We're just saying how we expected. We're going to start going over like our framework for the CMC statement tonight, and then we want to get our chief of staff something to put on the agenda to vote on for our next meeting, which is on May 14th. We want to get that information to her, ideally by Friday at 9 a.m., no later than Monday at 9 a.m. So we're going to try and get something going tonight, and hopefully you have some time, or Katina or somebody has some time to work on what we discuss. And whatever we have is what we have, and we'll submit it for the agenda discussion and take it from there. Okay,
Great.
Thank you. All right. So, and I'm going to skip talking about these two things, the template and the MOU proposal letter, until the end. So thank you for joining us, Ricardo. We're just going over what we're going to discuss tonight. We're going to start talking about the CMC draft statement first and discuss this other stuff at the end if we feel that we need to, or we can just discuss that stuff over email as well. All right. So this is a quick outline that I started to put together. And thank you, IG, for providing the input that you provided. I didn't get it all on here yet. And Director Lawson provided input as well. He's unable to join us tonight. And this isn't exactly what it has to look like. I'm just trying to get the conversation started, get our wheels turned about what we want to talk about, what sort of theme that we want to provide for the court. And so some ideas that I had are, and I don't know how everyone feels about this, but we can follow up on the 3 factors for cultural change that we communicated in the last CMC statement. We can do something like that. And those 3 things were having an effective and productive relationships with all stakeholders, the IAB to CPRA transfer. I don't know if there's much of an update to that other than they're putting together the working group. The city's commitment to funding the commission, CPRA, and IG. We can talk more about how CPRA, their budget was basically doubled, and what their plans are in terms of staffing before the end of the year, like we talked about the last meeting. And that's one thing, an idea for an introductory section. We also may want to discuss initiating the turnover process with the commission. A few CMC statements ago, we proposed being like a co-compliance director. I'm not saying that we have to say that exactly, but I know that at the last CMC that the judge did mention something about having some sort of plan in place for turnover when the court turns over oversight from there to the commission. And another thing that we might want to discuss is what does a sustainability period look like to us? Do we want to recommend something? I know back in, I think it was 2022 when they got into that period, it was supposed to be for a year. But I'm not sure exactly what was discussed in terms of what if they backslide on tasks and things like that. But I know they did backslide out of that sustainability agreement because due to the issue with the uh, previous chief and the Tran case, et cetera. So um, maybe we want to discuss something along those lines. And then other sections of the CMC that we may want to create, talking about our commission work, like the work of the Mental Health and Wellness Ad Hoc, the impact that has on the positive impact that has on OPD. These are just some things that we're working on and how it positively impacts the department if you want to check that out. The OPD template that we've been working on, we can discuss that. We can talk about the MOU recommendations and how 63% of the overall NSA tasks were positively impacted through that, as well as providing an update to the police chief search. Then we can have a section about CPRA's work, and these are the main things that, or the main sections that Director Lawson sent me from his input. Their top three accomplishments from last year and top three priorities for this year. But maybe we only need to talk about top three priorities for this year. I'm not sure if we touched on some of the stuff from last year in the last statement. We have to double check. And then another section could be about the IG's work. The main sections of the input that the IG provided to me was their oversight projects, outreach and partnerships, and challenges. And then that would be it. And then we could have like a conclusion section, I guess.
What would you foresee as part of the challenges?
For the IG,
Oh, I see. Okay, that's from the perspective of the IG. Got
yeah,
it.
right. So this is the IG section. And we can
I
actually, let's go over his memo to the ad hoc. I can make it bigger. Bear with me, my computer is a little slow. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little small though.
Yeah. Okay, IG, do you want to take us through it in a couple minutes?
Sure, I can do that. Let me pull it up. Actually, let me pull it up on my computer just so I can see it a little bit better. So give me a second. Let's
Okay.
see. 1 second. Let me just look for it. Almost there.
While you're doing that, Ricardo, do you have any thoughts on the potential sections of the statement? Anything that you like, don't like, that you heard?
I know. I think they're pretty spot on. Hey, good evening, everyone. If you do scroll up a bit, Omar, um, I do think that in following up with those three cultural, those factors for cultural change, I think we should nestle what the commission's actions are within those three areas. Um, and then let me see. And then I think at that point, we could talk about, I think we do need to talk about some of the policy stuff that we've worked on and any other actions such as like the community forums, the chief search interviews. Those are all things that are important. Working with CPRA with the mediation program, um, and then we could go directly into CPRA's work, and then IG's work, and how that's impacting those three key areas that we identified. Um, or maybe I guess just the first two, because the second one and the last one is really just the city's commitment to a fully functional um, oversight body post federal oversight. So
Okay.
yeah, but I think that's fine. I mean, I think we should definitely keep it simple in terms of the actions that we've taken since our last meeting, and how it rests within those three factors that we wanted to impact for cultural change.
Okay. All right. Thank you. IG, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. So I started this off with the oversight projects, and I'll read it and then kind of work in my thought process at the same time. So that way, if there's any questions. So I started with June of 2025, just to give us like a year overview. I could have started in December or since the last CMC. We could talk about that, whether we want to start with the last CMC or just for a year. So since 2025 or June 2025, the OIG has conducted or project managed many oversight projects which related to recommendations and considerations. Now, there were multiple recommendations. So I was going to put in 15 recommendations. I think it's close to 20 considerations. But since this is just a really overview, I just said resulted in recommendations and considerations for procedural improvement, including, and then we started with the staffing study of last year with PFM, the compliance inspection of NSA Task 3, and that was regarding integrity tests. Then the request is the part of our assignment is to do a in-service training to review the in-service training. So we did that. Policy review of three different DGOs: DGO 01, persons with mental illness; DGO 01.1, crisis intervention; and then our recent one, which is DGO I-25, unmanned aerial systems. So those are our projects that we have completed. And then as far as what we're currently working on, the OIG continues to work towards improving operational policy practices of OPD and CPRA and adherence to charter and mandated requirements within current projects, including, and that would be the policy review of DGO I-12, which is the automated license plate readers, which we're currently doing, compliance audit of NSA task, and those are the 7 audits that we're doing on these tasks: 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, and 34. And then the audit of OPD and SIPR regarding specific closure of discrimination complaints. So that kind of gives an overview. What are you currently doing? We're doing policy reviews, audits, and of OPD and CPRA as well. And then, in addition to its current oversight projects, the OIG seeks to enhance understanding and conduct risk assessments of administrative processes by attending Scully hearings, biweekly meetings with the chief regarding criminal investigative division and IAD updates, weekly IAD discipline meetings, independent monitoring team site visits, and OPD trainings, to name some of the areas. And then as far as outreach and partnership, I was going to list a lot of the things that we're doing regarding the outreach, some of the things that we did, but I just wanted to summarize it and say, along with the extensive outreach activities to foster engagement with the community, the OIG has sought to build a strong partnership with local academic institutions to build collaborations that provide research expertise and community-focused perspectives to the work of the OIG. The OIG is currently in partnership with UC Berkeley School of Law, CMO Law, Technology, and Public Policy Clinic, as well as the UC Berkeley Criminal Law and Justice Center. We've just started with the Northeastern University Oakland campus, formerly known as Mills College, and the UC Berkeley Public Service Center, as well as Cal State East Bay. Now, we just entered a partnership with Merritt College. I didn't add that, but we're still working on that. But I definitely, well, I'll wait until we actually have that formalize whether we want to discuss the partnership with Merritt College, and as well as the Center for Youth Development through Law, and those are for high school summer interns. So that one is doing my smaller projects. The bigger projects and policy reviews are going to be the other ones. And then I was going to wrap it up with challenges. So auditing oversight and municipal content has routine challenges, specifically around coordinating multiple stakeholders, the amount of documentation, and timely access. Some of these challenges are expected, while others are amplified by factors outside the purview of the OIG. In either case, OIG remains committed to addressing the challenges effectively while maintaining the highest standards of integrity, accuracy, and independence. And then finally, the OIG remains committed to supporting its mission and to promoting effective, transparent, and community-aligned policing practices in Oakland. And
Okay.
I'm willing to, however you guys, if you think I should add more in either one of these three sections or less, that's up for discussion.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for putting this together. First of all, I really appreciate you and Director Lawson providing input. I personally don't think that we need to include all of it, but I think some of it definitely, for sure, should go in there. I think just for me, since I think we all agree that, and thank you for joining us, Shawana, to discuss the three factors that we need to affect cultural change, that we should focus on the things within your document that support that. That's just where I'm coming from. That as well as, um, like, is there something specific that you think should be brought to the attention of the court? I mean, this is what you're saying needs to be, that you think is most pertinent for this discussion. So I would say that, um, yeah, how do the things that you mentioned here affect cultural change? Like your partnerships and stuff. Um,
Yeah, it's a good
we
point.
need to discuss that. That's my first impression. What are you gonna
Yeah,
say?
one thing that I left off, and this might go towards culture change, is the lack of a sexual harassment policy, and that was implemented by my office prior to me getting here. But that might be also something that, since they're currently discussing where that's at, is very important to note that that was not even thought of until the Inspector General's office brought it up.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Any thoughts from anyone else?
Well, I think on that point, real quick, I think that would be a really good example of the IG working with the commission and CPRA on identifying new policy. Because I know as you identified that IG, we also saw that in several discipline committee hearings that they didn't have that. So that's like something that I think we could list as like a future type of goal of an example of the IG working with CIPRA and the commission around identifying that policy and the need to develop one for OPD, or to have OPD develop one in conjunction with us. I also think the letter's really good. The majority of it, in regards to all the updates and actions you all are taking, I think those are all really good too. I think all of that demonstrates what the IG should be doing to impact cultural change within for our oversight mechanisms that we have here at home. So I think those are all really good. And do you see IG? Do you see submitting an independent letter with our letter, or to nestle in this information into one letter?
Thank you, because I did not want to do an independent letter. I think being able to take some of what I have and then incorporate it into your letter, I think might be a little bit stronger. So that way it shows that, more unity versus
Okay.
separation.
Was there
Cool.
discussion about you doing that? A separate letter?
No, but the way I wrote it, it
Oh, okay.
looks
You
like a
clarified
separate
Okay.
letter.
It was just
that.
more of a clarifying question. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm
No,
open to
yeah,
that
this is
for
a
sure.
memo to us, isn't it? Yeah, to police commission. Okay. But I see what you're saying. All right. Shawana, any thoughts or questions about IG's input? Juana, are you there? Okay,
Give her
we'll
a
come.
No,
sec. She's driving. She's
I know she
driving,
was
so she might
driving.
be trying to
Okay.
get
All
off
right, we'll
there.
come
Give her.
back. We'll come back. Okay. All right. Let me
You hear
let's
me?
go over.
There you go. Yeah.
Can you talk now?
Oh, yeah, no. I just said no, not right this second. Thanks for
Oh, okay.
asking.
All right, thanks. Okay, and then let's go over CPRA's input, and then we can come back to both of these. Or actually, well, since we're on IGs, let's stay here for a minute. So out of this letter, okay, affecting cultural change. So okay, so we for sure want to talk about these projects, right? Because we're talking about policies that have been positively impacted, talking about audits. Um, we're talking about what's the in-service training again? What is that?
So that we could probably take out. But that no, actually that's important because what
I
it
leave that
shows
in there.
is how many police officers are being trained in certain areas. And we have a list of those areas. I just don't know them off the top of my head. But it's part of the
Oh,
ordinance of
in-service
the
training as it pertains to the NSA. There's a section on that, right? Yeah, like
yes,
all the different people trained in all the different areas of policing for the city, right?
that is correct.
Okay, that is very important. Yeah. Okay.
So, Commissioner Farmer, from oversight projects going all the way down, if you scroll down, I think through the rest of the letter, pretty much.
You want to talk about all the partnerships? I don't know about that. We need to include all that
Let me
information.
see.
I think we can say outreach being conducted and stuff. I don't think we need to list all these different places. It's great work, but what does the judge need to know that stuff for? You know,
Mhm.
how is that affecting OPD's cultural change?
Well, these are all resources that the IG is leveraging to carry out his job, especially in the fact that he's been underfunded right now. Um, I think it's a demonstration of how he could leverage community and other system partners and academic partners to help
Hmm.
strengthen the functions of the IG's office.
Yeah, no, it is. I just,
I mean, we could summarize it. We could make it a little, you know, a little more brief, but I don't think it's a bad thing to have in there. We might want to even speak to it after the challenges because it's like these are like so proactive solutions that the IG is actually doing to strengthen his office in the light of challenges or in the light of
okay.
not being fully funded.
I like it when you frame it like that. Yeah, that when we talk about his challenges, and then we talk about how he's leveraging all these different relationships to help himself out. See, there's something in the chat. Yeah, I see the questions from
Commissioner,
Kathy in the
Farmer,
chat. I see it. Bear
yeah,
with
I
me.
was just going to let
I,
you know that there are two people. So Miss Asada and Miss Leonard are our guests tonight. I just wanted to make sure you all knew that. Miss Leonard, did you want to speak? You don't have to put it in the chat. I can unmute you if
no,
you like.
thank you,
Oh, yeah.
Micah. I want to hold off on public comment right now. I see the question in
Okay.
the chat from her, and I'm
Okay,
reading
you
it
got
right
it.
now. Okay. All right. Thank you. I want to stay with this letter. Um, yeah, and I see her comment is just saying to let the judge and monitor know that he's being proactive, that the IG is being proactive. And I think including that, as Ricardo was pointing out, shows that. Okay, so we can keep it all in then uh, right now, um, and then see what it looks like once we get a draft going. Okay, any other input? Sorry about the dog barking. Um, multiple things going on at the same time here. So, all right. So we're going to keep this whole letter for now, and we're going to frame the outreach and partnerships to show how the IG is being proactive in light of being underfunded and under-resourced. Okay, now I'm going to bring up CPRA's letter. Hey, give me 1 second. Okay. I'm going to read Director Lawson's letter. CPRA's goal is to sustain an era of stability and growth. The city's new administration has demonstrated support for stability and growth by significantly increasing CPRA's operating budget. CPRA's budget increased from slightly more than $2 million annually in 2024 to $5.1 million for fiscal years 2025 to 26 and 26 to 27. The new budget will allow CPRA to increase staffing and set priorities for effective police oversight. Below is a list of CPRA's top accomplishments for 2025 and goals for 2026. Top accomplishments for 2025. OPC approval of CPRA mediation program. The Oakland City Ordinance number 13498 requires the CPRA to establish a mediation program. Although the ordinance was adopted in 2018, CPRA has yet to initiate a mediation program. On September 25, 2025, CPRA presented a mediation plan to the Police Commission for approval. The Commission unanimously approved CPRA's mediation policies and procedures. To enhance communications and relationships between OPD and the community, OPC has approved a mediation program that will be administered through CPRA. The mediation program will provide Oakland citizens the opportunity to meet with OPD officers and discuss individual complaints of misconduct in an open, non-confrontational environment. Based on the concept of restorative justice, the mediation program is not designed to reach a determination or finding, but allows the community and OPD to come together for cooperative discussions, thereby furthering communication and cooperation between the Oakland community and OPD. CPRA is working with the Police Commission, OPD, community boards, and Oakland's Youth Alive to design and implement the mediation program, with the first mediation expected to occur in April or May 2026. Section 2. Initiation of City Assessment of Transition of OPD Internal Affairs Investigations to CPRA. In 2023, the City Council allotted $100,000 to hire an independent consultant to analyze the feasibility and timeline for transitioning IAB's responsibilities to CPRA. The consultant's report was completed in April 2025. An informational report was submitted to the City Administrator and Public Safety Committee detailing the report's findings. The completion of the consultant's report marked the first step towards transitioning IAB duties to CPRA. Ultimately, transitioning certain IAB investigative duties to CPRA will enhance independent oversight of policing while reducing costs to the city. CPRA is working with City Administrator's Office to create a task force to evaluate the feasibility of transitioning IAB duties to CPRA. Increased staffing. I'm not going to read this whole thing. You can see exactly what it says. It just talks about how their staffing was increased from what it was to what they hope that it will be by the end of the year. Then their top three priorities for 2026: be fully staffed is one, enhance CPRA's investigative database, case management, and reporting capabilities is two, and three is enhance effectiveness and efficiencies in police disciplinary process. All right, any questions on this?
I think those are all great things to highlight as well too, and they show CPRA's efforts and outputs since our last meeting. The only thing I would say is if we're going to nestle this also within our letter, to maybe abbreviate this from narrative style to more just bullet points, and just kind of sum it up a little bit more. But other than that, I think it goes well and fits nice, complementary to what IG is submitting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially, yeah, I agree. We'll leave it at that. Anyone else? IG, do you have any thoughts on Director Lawson's letter?
Sorry about that. No, it looks really good. I think you're right. It's a very compliment of my letter, or my yeah letter. So I think it looks good.
Okay. All right. Shawana, did you have a chance to listen to that, or do you have any feedback?
I'm listening. Thanks for offering us back at this time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't. Okay. Did you hear? I couldn't hear what she said.
She said that she was listening and that she's currently driving at this time, so she's
Oh,
unable to
she's
speak.
driving still. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, in terms of putting this into CMC statement,
Mhm. I think the task is, and I don't know if I'm sorry I joined late. I don't know if Connor got a chance to announce or just to give you all an update. But one, we're joined here by Connor Kennedy. What's up, Connor? How's up, buddy? And he's been long following the commission, and so we've enlisted his help from GHS to help pull this together. Katina's on vacation this week. And I think the task at this point is going to be looking at this outline that you have, Omar Farmer, which I think is on point. That basically just talks about the intro, those three areas, OPC's work, make sure that we have all of our input on that and all the things that we've been doing, and then infusing or including, excuse me, both CPRA and OIG's letters into our statement so that it's kind of flows all together. In terms of that third bullet point of what does a sustainability period look like in our intro, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we could. I don't know. I got to think about that a little bit. I think one of the things that our letter is demonstrating is what sustainability looks like, is how we continue to function, and the things and focus on these areas that we feel are important post federal oversight. And we could even just in the intro, it could be like a one liner of that we look forward to working with city partnerships on establishing what long-term sustainability looks like, including the monitor, right? For any potential transition planning from the monitor to our localized civilian oversight.
mm-hmm.
So I think we should definitely acknowledge it and just say that, hey, this is where we feel like our strengths are, and we're going to continue doing this, and that we're going to continue to work with the monitor and with the city stakeholders on a potential transition period. Because I know the judge talked about that in the last meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're there yet. Like right now, it's still like, all right, you guys got to get in compliance first. And then once you're there, then we can start talking about, we want to hear from the city what a transition plan looks like. So we could kind of like just forecast that a little bit, that this is what we're doing and that we want to continue to, we look forward to being part of that conversation of a potential transition plan.
Yeah, no, thank you for your input. And I agree that we should definitely say something about this. That's why I'm putting it on here. And I think that, we don't have to have like all the answers exactly what a sustainability period is going to look like. But we should like forecast that, like you said, and maybe highlight some things that they did in the past that we think will work the next time or not. I don't know. But were you going to say something else? Were you saying something else? No? Okay. All right. Well, I think that we need to start writing something here. So,
Connor, hearing this conversation today, how do you feel in terms of like the intro and kinds of how we're framing the conversation based off what we said at our last meeting, that these are the three areas, and then focusing on highlights that OPC, CPRA, and OIG are doing to impact these areas?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I know that everyone is going to be focused on very specific tasks for what needs to be completed before you get to that sustainability period. But I think it makes sense for the commission to continuously think forward, as you're all doing, about what will come once those three tasks are in a place that the monitor feels comfortable and the court feels comfortable moving forward and hopefully eventually exiting the NSA, right? That's always something that the commission has been focused on, and you hear it, you know, in a measured way, right? The idea of what would a handoff look like, continuing to remind folks about the efforts over a long period of time of what a handoff would look like, and then also emphasizing what the IG and the CPRA are doing proactively. I think it's really important to demonstrate that while everyone is focused on these three tasks, the broader understanding of overseeing the police department, overseeing this area of governance, that's something that the police commission is going to continue to grow in, get even more mature in, and build out institutional capacity for, despite all of the constraints on budgeting and despite all of the challenges and setbacks the city has seen thus far. So I really, really like what I've seen and what I've heard. And of course, our firm is very happy to help lift and support in any way that we can here. Thanks for asking.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you for weighing in. And yeah, my next question was going to be to you. What do you need from us to start? This is just a copy on the screen right now. You can see the last case management CMC statement. What do you need to hear from us right now tonight to start to draft something like this? Do you want us to go through in more detail an introductory section, or do you want to hear us like brainstorm and add more things to this outline and then send you the outline? What's the easiest way to do it for you?
Yeah, I think the latter. I definitely appreciate ensuring that we can put eyes on the two other deliverables from the IG and then from what you were reading out around the CPRA and the report. But between the outline, understanding what the big picture goal is, the fact that this meeting is recorded, and understanding the broader vision, which is something that Katina did give me a call and sort of talk me through. I think we have what we would need to push forward and get you something. And then, frankly, it's one thing to brainstorm, and then once you actually see pen to paper, I'm sure that a lot more will come forward. So it probably does make sense to start earlier on getting a deliverable going. At the same time, anything that we haven't already addressed that you really do want to make sure that you're putting out for the drafters, that's welcome.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would also say, Connor, you got a good grasp, just even how you framed it a second ago, a good grasp of how to frame this conversation within the intro. So I would, feel free to take a first hack at that. And I think as succinct and brief as we could be in terms of what these key areas are without getting too deep in the weeds, but really just having a high level could also be a teachable moment. I know I saw some stuff in the chat around, upcoming legislation that's being proposed and that stuff. And I think this could really be a teachable moment to the public, community, to the courts, to our own council members of why what we're doing is important, right? And why it doesn't jive with whatever proposals are out there without even having to directly address it at this time is really just showing our own proof in the pudding and how like my old buddy, Marshawn Lynch says, we're about that action, we don't care about all that other stuff and we're doing what we need to do moving forward. So this could actually be a good educational opportunity if we're very clear on these areas and why they're important, how they're impacting cultural change, and why it's going to be important for us to be a key player in any type of post federal oversight plans. And I know there's for the folks that are questioning that or maybe even proposing stuff in contradictions to that. I think it's few and far between. And I think if we stick to what we do well and then what we're talking about here, I think our work will speak for itself.
Speaking for itself is, I hear you loud and clear. Maybe steer clear of talking about any pending items that are before that might be before the voters. And then obviously if Judge Orrick wants to raise it, he'll certainly raise it during your hearing. And having watched this commission perform quite well at these hearings, I have no doubt that you'll be able to think on your feet at the time if it comes up then. But um, showing by our deeds what we've done and what we're capable of doing going forward, and why, if we're this close to exiting, why it wouldn't make sense to change course with respect to the powers that are under the charter for this commission and its reporting bodies. It makes a lot of sense to me, and I hear it.
Okay, yeah, thank you both. You're going to say something, Ricardo?
No, I just said awesome.
Okay. Um, and then Connor, do you think that based off of this discussion we're having tonight and getting you this outline and the input from IG and Director Lawson, that you could get us a rough draft by Friday morning? Is that realistic?
Yeah, let me just quadruple check. It's Monday, right? Yep, it's Monday. Yes.
Well, Monday at the
Uh,
late, so Monday, not Friday.
no, no, no. I was double checking that the day is Monday before
Oh,
I confirm Friday morning as the timeline.
oh yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, lawyers, and we've got a long working Sunday. Sometimes it's good to double check. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Friday morning, that's something that we can get over to the ad hoc. And if there's an interim update where I have some questions or I need to check in, maybe you want to name a good time or a good yeah, availability window, just to make sure that if there's some bigger question that I need to get out in front of, we don't have to wait till Friday to get it done.
No, great point. I think one, we could communicate via email, but I think maybe we do a maybe midweek temperature check with me, you, Chair Farmer, and Vice Chair Booker if she's available as well, just to maybe do a temperature check if needed. But if you feel pretty comfortable and don't have any significant questions, then getting something to us by Friday so that we can review Friday, make any last edits over the weekend, and then have something ready to post by Monday would be great.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. So if we do it like that, and then uh, we, add some additions or edits over the weekend, when do you need it by like Sunday so that you can uh, add that stuff or make those changes?
That's to me.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think that it'll probably depend on the substance of what comes out. It's hard to say.
Well,
And our deadline is Monday, I'm hearing. Is that why?
at the latest, it's Monday at 9 a.m. So we're just gonna be, yeah, Monday at 9 a.m. Yes, Monday at 9 a.m. We have to. Micah has to have it.
Okay. Yeah, look, I think Sunday at noon is probably the smartest
Okay.
timeline.
All right. So you can get us the first draft by Friday at 9 a.m. and then we can work on it and then get all those changes back to you no later than Sunday at noon. Are you going to put that in like a Google Doc where we can just put, comments, or how do you want to do that?
Um, just so I'm double checking for Brown Act compliance purposes, the only folks that would have access to that Google Doc would just be members of the ad hoc, right?
Yeah.
Because if everyone's collaborating on a Google Doc,
No,
and
it's
you have a
just
majority
us. That's
on
it.
the Google.
No, thank you for doing that. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
for the
just us
members.
here.
Great. Yeah, look, I can definitely put it in the form of a Google Doc, frankly, with footnotes and other kind of, we're doing it in the form of a court document, I assume, so that that side footer may not play well with Google Docs. If I need to, maybe I can do Microsoft Word share or just circulate and ask for anyone who has edits to get them back to me. Um, in comments or in line. Is that something that you'd be amenable to?
However you want to do it works for me.
So then I think I'll do it that way, emailing the ad hoc out, asking folks for either comments in the body of an email or red lines or inline comments in Microsoft Word. It's probably the best way that I would think doing it, just so that I can maintain a little bit of version control and again make sure that the document is maintains its formatting integrity. Given the quick turnaround, I wouldn't want to figure out on
Yeah.
Sunday. They've got some formatting issues that are forestalling our delivery.
Okay.
Yeah, that works. I agree.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thank you for your flexibility. Thank you for being here. I know we didn't ask you until like noon today. So I appreciate you for being here and for putting in the hours to make sure that we have a document ready by our next meeting. Um, okay, so then just going over this outline again really quickly. Um, so the three factors for cultural change is a definite yes. That's basically what we want our theme of the statement to be. My understanding, and that's how I feel, and I know that's how Ricardo feels, and um, I think it's okay with Shawana IG. I believe that you've consented to that as well. Um, and then discussing initiating the turnover process. Okay, so I just want to talk about this a little bit. Do we? I mean, I feel like that we could follow up on that. I think that would be like an example to the court of like how we could, um, see this process getting started. And it's kind of like, to me, it's our way to campaign to get out from under federal oversight, which is what everybody wants. And I can go back and look at to see what we decided to say in that two CMC statements ago, and maybe propose that. That's what I'm thinking about adding in terms of language for that section. The importance of having a turnover. Okay, yeah, and that's just harping on that point.
You're saying 1.3, Commissioner Farmer?
Introduction point two.
Oh, point two.
Mm-hmm. You have some thoughts on that?
I mean, I think 2 and 3 kind of go together in terms of
You do. They
our
do.
willing, our one, our willingness to be curious and learn and have conversations with the monitor and be part of this transition discussion so that we could continue to do what we're demonstrating we're already doing and to be able to and pick up that baton and do more once that comes home. And that we feel like because, despite any challenges that we face, that we're still have this resilience and that we're working strong and that we could still demonstrate a model of localized civilian oversight that's going to be ready to be part of this transition conversation. Beyond that, though, I don't know how much it's helpful for us to be coming up like with our own ideas at this point of what that looks like. Because I think the gist of the conversation is where are they at now with the current tasks at hand. So I think it's just more of a kind of a segue into what our future CMC statements and our future roles are going to be, right? And our willingness to work with folks and identifying where those priorities are at. And clearly we have the mechanisms, we have, ways that, even when I think about like, backsliding and the IG's, ready to do these audits and make this stuff happen. So like we're ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to show like basically we're ready to go. And we're curious to learn more about what the city and what the court thinks about this transition process. And we're going to continue to be able to show and demonstrate that despite these challenges that we're able to carry out these functions to make sure that they stay in sustainability, whatever that looks like.
And honestly, no, and thank you for responding to that. Honestly, that's kind of like along the lines of how I was thinking of communicating. I'm not necessarily saying to communicate to be or just use the term co-compliance director again. I just want to talk a little bit more in detail about how to have that discussion. So. And see what people's thoughts were, just to get a little bit more substance for this draft. Any other thoughts on that for the introductory sections 2 and 3, IG? Do you remember back when they got in the sustainability period? Any lessons learned from that you think would be worth sharing? I guess you weren't here yet.
Yeah, no, I can't say I was
Just don't
here
get into many major scandals.
Yeah. Yeah. Was anything turned over to you in terms of, like good information that would be, helpful to mention?
Not at this time. I would have to think about it, but right off the top of my head, I would say no, nothing was really turned over to me that I could pinpoint that would be helpful regarding the sustainability period.
Can you ask Charlotte to see what she thinks? Because she was here, right?
She was, yes.
I'll be curious to see what her thoughts were. Maybe there's something useful there. Maybe there isn't. I just want to explore, um, that those thoughts. Um, all right.
Oh, and I could be off, but I think some of the things that IG and CP and Director Lawson have already mentioned that they're doing. Like the feeling I got is like, yeah, you guys are spot on. This is what it needs to look like and what we need to be doing, and including the commission. And then we throw in the policies we're working on, the things that we've helped out in, whether it's the chief search and community forums, elevating community voice, things in that nature. Like that we're answering, it's like a reciprocal question. We're answering our own question of what this looks like. This is what it looks like right
Yeah.
here.
Actually, I think you're right. We did kind of answer the question a little bit with their input in their statements. Okay, so let's go to the next section. Let's just talk about, because we talked a lot about IG's input, CPRA's input in the intro section. What about police commission's work? Ricardo, what are your thoughts on that? On like what's here, what's missing? Shawana, if you're available to jump in on this, please feel free to.
Great, thanks. I don't know what's missing yet, but what just came in my mind was, yeah, I do like and appreciate the angle of how do all of our systems connect and work together to then maintain oversight and how it's collaborated and coordinated, that it needs the structure is important to maintain sustainability and oversight. So I think how we position that and leverage the conversation makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Ricardo, were you going to say something?
So a couple of things just that I had listed out. I think what you have up here is good, mental health, wellness. In terms of like policy stuff, right? I think we should highlight some of the stuff that we've done around policy. One thing is, that directly relates to their compliance right now is the exemption that we voted for. I think it was for the use of force policy, and for them to have an exemption while they do the qualitative study. And that's that's directly contributing to Task 45 right now.
Wait a sec. Wait. You're saying to mention the qualitative study in this?
Yeah, so we vote. Yeah, because a few meetings back, we voted to provide OPD an exemption so that they could move forward with the qualitative study and surveys that they're doing without triggering any MOR violations. So that exemption that we voted to provide to them, that basically allowed them to move forward with the qualitative study, which is directly related to some of these tasks. So there's that piece.
Oh, that's right. We did do that. We did that, I think, at the community meeting, right?
Yeah. So I think that's an action we took. By the time we draft this, we're going to also have taken action or going to start determining a path for the immigration policy. Mm-hmm. And then as well as several other policies that we have on deck that we're going to be reviewing and working with OPD on and the IG on, everybody involved actually in regards to the sexual harassment. We're going to see the J4 pursue policy again. M19 still has to come back before us, the racial profiling. And then I don't ever want to forget community policing and reworking, like, and revisiting where we're at in those areas. I think those are some real key policies that we both could work on with OPD. And also, I think it's worth mentioning that we're starting to have conversations in regards to all those policies with the Public Safety Committee and City Council. I think that could show some positive working relationships with Council that we're working on.
Okay. So M19, J4, what was the other policy you mentioned? That's
M19, J4, community policing. But then before all of that, you got immigration. I would say before. So we got the exemption because we already voted on the exemption. We're looking at immigration. And I think next up, priority-wise, is probably sexual harassment. And then whenever J4, M19, and community policing come back before us.
Hey, so thank you for that summary. So the sexual harassment policy pertains to OPD, how they interact with the public. That's the one that we're talking about, right?
Correct. Yeah.
What's the name of that? Or IG, how would you?
They don't have a policy for that.
I know, right. I'm just saying, like, what? So we already have. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, so we have, but they do have the internal, or no, maybe they use AI 71 when they're talking about that internally, right?
So that's the issue right now. They have policy that's directly related to AI 71.
I know, but no,
But
but
then
no,
that's really
yeah,
specific to like employee to employee type stuff. But
yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
no,
sexual
no.
harassment that's employee to the public.
Yes, right. And all I'm saying is, how do we want to phrase it? Do we want to say sexual harassment for, with the community, or like, is there like a specific name that we would recommend using here? Because I don't want to use something that's overbroad. Sexual harassment policy makes it sound like there's nothing internally either to me.
We could say beyond the what you just said. What is it? It's a
Or
71 IA 71.
or I would
71.
say with non, because I think the one that they have is like personnel, so maybe non-personnel related sexual harassment policies or something like that.
All right,
Yeah,
so we'll just
that's
leave
AI
it at
71 is the personnel and employee stuff. So
yeah.
something beyond that that relates to OPD towards the public
We'll
and
say
community.
okay. So we'll just say sexual harassment. Uh, I don't know, pertaining to the public.
Or you could do sexual harassment for sworn officers, something to that regard.
Okay. All right. Well, we can continue to think about it. And
But essentially something that it goes beyond or in addition to AI 71. Because right now they just refer to AI 71 as the policy that they refer to, but that's very narrow and it doesn't cover like a standalone policy that needs to exist for itself.
I'm just going to leave it as pertaining to the public right now because I think that really summarizes it up too. I don't think everyone knows what AI 71 is. Um,
Okay.
you know,
Under bullet point, and then moving on under bullet point number 4, OPC chief search update. I think it's going to be important to be able to provide that that we did 6 community forums,
mhm.
that we've gotten over 200, close to 200 surveys. I don't know what the final number was, Micah, of community input, and that we've completed now um, interviews for the permanent chief position. Because by the time we submit this, our interviews will be done. We only have one last day of interviews left.
Okay, so 200 survey, upwards of 200 surveys received, 6 community forums conducted, and interviews complete with prospects. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And then we're also saying how, well, I'll just leave it at that. Okay.
I think the other thing that'll be important is probably its own bullet point in this list is, and I don't know where we're at with this, and I apologize, I need to catch back up with this, but commission's ability to participate and to be part of certain OPD training, whether it's procedural justice. I think there was a number of trainings I think that we're talking about that we wanted to be a part of or be able to observe those trainings. And I don't know if that's worth talking about.
OPC collaboration with OPD training opportunities. Is that happening now?
That's yeah. It was kind of a input/question
Okay.
because I know that's somewhere out there, but I know that that's the goal eventually, and I know we've talked about that, and I just don't know where we're at with that. I don't know, Micah. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, no one is attending it, right? I mean, training, right? Michael, what were you
Are
going to
you
say?
talking about their trainings for commissioners? Or are you talking about policy training? What specifically are you referring to? Because
I thought
two
there was
different
some
things.
trainings. Yeah, no, I thought there was some trainings that OPD was doing with internally that they were going to give visibility to the commission, or we could either observe or be a part of.
Yes. Yes. That was one that for the sexual harassment, I think that Shawana asked for. And yes, we do have that opportunity for you guys to join those live sessions.
Okay, so there's an opportunity to attend those, but we haven't done that yet, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's
No.
put it on
So
there.
again, it was more of a question like, is it worth listing that out that there's certain trainings that we're going to be a part of?
All right. Well, we can leave it on the list for now, and then we'll decide that down the road. All right. We're at time right now.
Commissioner Farmer, you do have a question from Miss Asada. Her hand is raised.
Yeah. Okay. We can go to that right now. I was going to say we go to public comment. Yes. we're at time.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
I think it's necessary to remind everyone that the negotiated settlement agreement is a result of a lawsuit. That lawsuit had to do with certain behaviors of the Oakland Police Department and how those behaviors would be eliminated. That's what it's not all of these constitutional policing, community policing. It looks like every area of policing, the negotiating settlement agreement has something to do with. It has to do with police, uh, racial profiling, excessive force, falsifying reports, and a few other things. And I don't see the negotiated settlement agreement and under its original intent being focused on. And I don't know how we get into this broad discussion of we're going to include sexual harassing, police, community policing, immigration, our six forums, interviews for police chief as a part of the negotiated settlement agreement. It's one aspect of a lawsuit, one lawsuit that identified certain things that were going on, not everything, particular issues. 119 people filed in this lawsuit. 118 were African Americans, one was Latino. Then, in what topped it all off was in 2019, you had the police office, Black police office grievance that solidified. Even in the department, you had these same issues going on. And I just do not get this. I do not understand it, that we are so broadly dealing with policing when you have in this settlement agreement specific areas of policing that are supposed to be dealt with. And lastly, there was a CIPRA letter or document, and I heard the word citizen. It is a common practice within the city of Oakland to use the word resident out of respect for those who are not citizens. And that's just the way they do all of their writings. So I don't know if you want to continue to have your writings with citizens or you want to replace it with resident. It's up to you. But I'm thoroughly dissatisfied with how we're dealing with the negotiated settlement agreement. This is almost as difficult as trying to get reparations for Black people.
Hmm.
All right.
Thank you for the time.
Absolutely. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for
I do want to lift up Commissioner Farmer. Two things that I think, that I want to lift up in those comments were, one, we need to put a pin on CPRA. Maybe we need to change it to RPRA, to the Resident Police Review Agency. So let's put a pin on that for sure. And I think what Ms. Asada just reminded us, and I think Kathy Leonard in the chat gave us a check +1 on that comment as well. I think it helps remind us on how we frame this letter in the introduction. So Connor, you got quite the challenge at this point, but I think part of, if we could capture that feeling that Ms. Asada just shared right now in our intro of this is why our work is important. This is why we don't want to see backsliding. This is why culture change is imperative, because it's not about just checking off the boxes that OPD is working on with the monitor, but we're seeing beyond that. What does policing feel like in our city? What do our residents and those daily interactions feel like with OPD? And as it relates to everything that we're saying that we're doing, these are the outputs that we feel like impact that feeling, that culture, and what the end result is that our residents are getting. But I do think, what Ms. Asada did just share with us right now, I think is a good reminder of how we need to come out strong in our intro around why it's so important of a role that we're playing for the city, aside from just checking these technical boxes that the city and other stakeholders are currently doing right now with the monitor.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Ms. Asada, for your comment. I agree with everything that you're saying. And before we adjourn, I just want to touch on two things that we've been planning on having in the agenda for next week's meeting. And we talked about at the beginning of this meeting that we're going to talk about it at the end, which is the OPOA MOU recommendations and the OPD template. The OPD template we're going to have to. We talked about discussing that over email, and the document that was prepared that you prepared, Ricardo, that had like the red lines and stuff. I think that if that's what we want to use, that it still needs we still need to update it significantly if it's going to reflect the discussions that we've had in this ad hoc that are reflected on the newer version, and that we still need to work on that, getting that finalized to put it in front of the commission, and we're going to have to do that by the end of this week, I think, because then we need to focus on the CMC statement over the weekend. And
Yeah.
then in terms of the opioid MOU recommendations, the only thing that I haven't changed anything. I've added the references next to the lines that are referencing certain documents. So that will be done. I'll get it to you, Micah, so that you can put it in the appropriate formatting like we discussed. I believe last time I said I would get that to you by today. I don't have it ready by today, but I will have it to you, I think, in, no later than Wednesday if you want to put it in, some different, like police commission letterhead or something like that. And
That's
that's where
fine.
we're okay. Thank you.
So
And that's
Commissioner Farmer, can we
that's where we're at with that.
with those two things, can we do maybe a separate meeting, you and I, and anybody else that may want to join, to look at those two documents to get a final kind of just touch point on those, and then I think those would be ready to agendize, and then we could vote with whatever amendments that we need to our next meeting. Because actually, in hindsight, I was thinking about like not wanting to rush those, but I think it would be good if they're close enough to put on their own agenda items for us to vote on, and then we could include that into our final commission statement as well.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that I think it would be helpful if at least you and I met and went over the template, and Shawana, I guess if she can join us. But in terms of the opioid MOU recommendation,
That's pretty close to, yeah, I think that's good to go.
yeah, just really okay, and just really quickly, yeah, the opioid MOU recommendations. Like I've discussed it with everybody, and we discussed it. There is no other input. Did you want to provide? Did you have anything? Do you want to just go over it, or what do you want to do?
That probably needs the least work. I did want to just look at it, or maybe everybody could go over it with whatever references that you put in there, and see if there's any last comments. But that's pretty much good to go. I would just like to go through that template with you to make sure that everything we talked about within this ad hoc and the list that you provided in that alternative document, that's reflected in this template, and that we're cutting out all the areas, that we're scratching out all the areas that we agreed that we're going to scratch out as well too.
Yeah, me
So
too.
maybe
I feel the same way. I wanted.
we could knock that out in one meeting though, just with us, just going through it.
I think we could, just me and you. I tried to go over it this morning, thinking I could get it done in a couple hours, and I wasn't, because it was more work than I anticipated. But I think you and I working. Are you available like Wednesday?
Yeah, let's look at
Wednesday
Michael.
night?
We don't have an ad hoc this Wednesday, right? It's the fifth Wednesday.
I don't know if you guys. I
No,
don't know.
you have an ad hoc for discipline matrix. It's the first and the third.
Oh, it's the first. That's right. Oh shit.
Or I could do. What about Wednesday at like 8 a.m.? Can you do that?
Let me look at my calendar. Let's text offline.
Okay. All right.
And find a time. Yeah.
And then we could knock that out. And I think how you explained doing it would be helpful. Give them their own agenda items so that we can focus squarely on each individual thing. And then that'll be the ad hoc report out. I don't know what else. That's what we've done. So, yeah. And then we're also discussing. Well, that's another subject. But yeah. Okay. So Wednesday we'll follow up, me and you, and Michael will get you all the documentation like we discussed. And any other thoughts, questions, concerns from anyone, the public, anybody?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mrs. Sada, go. You have the last.
Are you aware about the meeting tomorrow of the city council and the issue related to the police commission?
We are. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. That's okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Connor will be in touch. The meeting is adjourned. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.